right, not our best job of timing, but nonetheless, there it is. The NBA on NBC theme. As we talk all things NBA, welcome to another live edition of the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital, or at MC Show Digital. Of course, don't forget to like our videos if you like what you're seeing and hearing. And also, please subscribe. We are looking to build up our subscriber base, and we thank all of you who pop in and join us during these live events. And don't forget, of course, you can watch them later on. We're on demand on YouTube. And we also send it out through our Twitter, Facebook, and Boy Green sends it out on his platform as well. So welcome, everybody. Good to be with you here on another lovely, lovely Wednesday as we are getting through week one. We dropped a little content for you yesterday. I hope you caught it. We did a nice interview with our Giants insider, Ed Valentine, on a Giants mini camp, and had some very interesting things to say about the Giants quarterback situation and, dare I say, John Mara's forgiveness of Joe Shane and his shipping off, dare I say, or allowing Saquon Barkley to be acquired by the Eagles last year and then have that crazy season that he had. So interesting thoughts there from Ed Valentine. We're going to spend a lot of time today talking about NBA and the NBA free agency world because things have been going crazy for the last few days. And while football, dare I say, has cooled a little bit, we might be able to still squeeze in a football topic or two a little bit later on. The NBA is running a little wild, you might say. Although one of the fascinating things to me, Boy Green, is that true free agency, you know, the days of LeBron teaming up with the boys or, you know, or other massive moves happening in the NBA. Really, this new collective bargaining agreement and the aprons has really kind of worn that off. And we are seeing more trades and less really big name free agency acquisitions.
Yeah, it is a different world entirely here with NBA, for instance. And all these rules, there's bird rights, there's contract extensions, and all these things that prevent a lot of these top guys from reaching the open market.
All right. Well, it's true. All right. Look, he's already here, so let's bring him in. He's our NBA insider. We've talked to him on the radio for years. Now we bring him into our virtual world once again, and we bring him in live this time. It's our old pal from Athlon Sports, Sean Devaney. Good morning, Mr. Devaney. How are you? Welcome back to the virtual world.
Well, thanks for having me.
You know, I want to pull something off that bookcase behind you. I don't know.
What do you got back there?
You know, you got the poetry of, Dylan Thomas. I'm just wondering what's back there. You know, what is on that shelf?
It's mostly Peppa Pig books from my daughter.
Okay. It's a children's.
No, there's
library.
Actually some of these I wrote. This is if I can plug. This is
please.
Sean Devaney, Fun City, about New York City in the 1960s. That's
nice.
Probably my favorite one that I've written.
What were you, like a beatnik in those days or something? You know.
Well, I wasn't born in those days, but
yeah, no, I don't think so.
I did some. I had to do extensive research, so that was fun. But I probably have read about 1/10 of what's behind me.
Well, Sean, let me ask you this: how many books have you written?
I think it's 8.
Wow.
You know, some of them I don't count. So there's one. What happens sometimes is like when there's a trend coming, somebody be like, "We need a book fast." So I wrote a book, and I'll have to find it. It's on the shelf somewhere here. Here it is. This is a Taiwanese version of a book called "Win Like Lin," and that's Jeremy Lin.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you know, this was one that did not have a long shelf life, as they say. For obvious reasons, but they really wanted it. They wanted it fast. I was like, all right, I can do that.
What's interesting, we got into, I don't know, a month or two ago on a radio show, we got into a heated discussion. I had rewatched Linsanity, the documentary, and then came that morning and talked about it a little bit and talked about some of the racial undertones that went along with Jeremy Lin kind of not maybe getting into some top line colleges and eventually settling for Harvard. And then even in the NBA, maybe perhaps there being some, bigotry in some way about bringing Jeremy Lin in to be a starting player in the NBA. It was that documentary brings out a lot of things. And I definitely hit a nerve because we had a lot of people reacting to that on the radio. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting time for sure. And you know, I mean, look, Jeremy Lin's not the first guy Obviously as an Asian guy, that's rare in the NBA, but he's certainly not the first guy to have colleges kind of just look at him, not look at what he's doing on the floor, but just look at him and make a judgment and say, that's not a player we're interested. You see that a lot. I mean, Steph Curry, it was the same sort of thing at 120 pounds soaking wet when he was in high school. Nobody said, this is going to be a future Hall of Famer for sure.
So, Sean, let's dive into the deep end of the pool here on all this NBA free agency. I guess I'll start off on a general sense, and we're going to get into a lot of individual storylines here, Sean. Has it been as crazy as you expected? Not as crazy? Like, what's sort of been your temperature check on all of what we have received over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I think it's been crazier. You guys were talking, I know, right before I came on, and you're right that it's not the way it was 10 years ago. And I think that's something that I miss. I think a lot of NBA fans miss. When you could have legitimate free agents with players actually changing teams and all this planning to join up this guy and all that. We're not seeing that. That's something that with the rules that the league has put in place that they kind of knew was going to go away. I think that's a missed opportunity for them. And something, like I said, I think a lot of fans missed. Having said that, within the confines of the rules we have, I don't think anybody saw Rich Paul putting out a statement that kind of indicated LeBron wants out. So that's kind of big news. I don't think anybody foresaw, the Bucks. I do think what the Bucks did with Lillard in terms of waiving him and stretching his salary, I think that's something more teams ought to do. But to do it with $110 million over 5 years, that's going to eat a big chunk of your salary going forward. So there was a surprise that the Bucks opted to do that with him of all players. So certainly I think a lot of what we've seen is what we might have expected, but those two things are pretty big things. Those are, and of course, then Miles Turner winds up signing with Milwaukee as a result of the Lillard stuff. So, you put all that together, and those are some big surprises there.
Hey, look, I want to get in and talk about the Bucks. They're very high on my priority list, but let me just respond to Alon's comment here about the Hawks. Top 4 in the East. The Atlanta Hawks made a couple of moves here to try and put themselves in position, including putting somebody alongside Trae Young to try and help that backcourt a little bit. Let's talk about Atlanta first, and then we'll delve into Milwaukee.
Yeah, I really think that what Atlanta did, and they also got themselves a pick going forward that's going to belong to either New Orleans or the Bucks, and both of those teams could really struggle. So, they could be in a pretty good position going forward as well. But I think, they were able to get rid of some of the bad pieces that they had from sort of their first attempt to put a team around Trae Young. But now, you've got obviously, look, it depends on if he stays healthy, but Porzingis could be a perfect fit in that offense. When you look at the way that Trae Young can break down a defense, and there you go.
You see the jersey? I didn't want anybody to know. Yeah, it's him. It's him.
I mean, that's a great. It would be a great pick and pop combo. Again, if they got to play more than 25 games together, we'll see how that goes. But to get Alexander Walker from Minnesota, good pickup, two-way guy. For a team that's got Rich Hosea already on that roster. I mean, they've got a lot of good young pieces. Tyson Daniels. I mean, they've got a lot of good young pieces. That as you look, this is going to be an interesting team in an Eastern Conference that is obviously weak and seems to be getting weaker as we go.
Before we get into the Bucks, and I know that's where you want to go, Lerch, just something off of what Sean Devity said, LeBron James. This is when you see the statement and you didn't get any follow-up news, you would have said, oh boy, sounds like LeBron James is opting out, but he opted in. So what does this all mean? Is he going to be keeping an eye on the Lakers' moves, and if he approves, he gives the thumbs up in the movie or the thumbs down, and then he wants to be traded? What's happening there, Sean?
Or could it all end, before you answer that, Sean, could it all end with a celebration in the Canyon of Heroes? Because every Nick Nut out there is running those rumors that, you're on the cusp, add another guy. I'm like, they'd have to trade 3 guys to get LeBron, for crying out loud. So I'm not even thinking about that. But there are some nutcases in New York world that are
I get it. Yeah, I get it. The way the Knicks are set up. They're probably in as good a position as anybody to make a trade for LeBron. But that's because there's just so few teams that could possibly do it, that could match a $52 million salary, especially with all the apron rules that come with it. Brooklyn was a big team in terms of having cap space and being able to, other teams could use Brooklyn to kind of help them. That's what the Celtics did with Porzingis, for instance. But the Nets used that up with the Porzingis deal, and then they did the Michael Porter deal with Denver. So there's really no cap space out there, is my point, that you really can't. If you're going to trade LeBron, it's kind of, you could get a third team involved, but you're really not going to get that kind of buffer where you could trade $40 million to the Lakers and they trade you $52 million LeBron by bringing in a third team. You can't do that. So, it's going to be hard for any team to find $52 million worth of players that they want to get rid of. And for the Lakers to say, yes, we'll take that back. Very interesting. This is something LeBron has had. I think it's 8 contracts that he's done sort of the one by one, where you pick up a year and okay, I'm in this year and then I got a player option for next year in case. This is the first time he's ever picked up the player option and hasn't kind of pushed it forward, which is, that combined with the statement from Rich Paul makes it seem like he's either going to finish out this year with the Lakers, be a free agent next year and leave, or they're going to trade him sometime during the season if they can find the right deal.
Or retire, maybe retire. Oh, goodness. All right. Let's move over to the Bucks. You see him there on the screen, Damian Lillard. Obviously interesting. So they cut him. Now they're going to spread his salary out over the next 5 years instead of having a salary dump the next 2 years, which would really hamstring Milwaukee. This has got to be, in my opinion, an attempt for Milwaukee to try to keep Giannis there. So does this help or doesn't it help in terms of Giannis staying in Milwaukee?
It's all they could do. I mean, Miles Turner was the best realistic. If you look at the list of free agents, you go through the first 50, there's really only 2 impact players who actually change teams here. You have a lot of, we mentioned some of the other deals. Alexander Walker, is one, but really Dorian Finney-Smith leaving the Lakers for the Rockets as a free agent. And now Miles Turner. I mean, those are the 2 real top 15 players on the free agent market that actually change teams. So for the Bucks, you look at the list and you say, okay, this is the one guy we can get who is, the best free agent available. And they did it. They managed to do it. And it was tough to pull him away from Indiana. A lot of people are killing the Pacers for this move, but the fact is they offered a pretty good deal. They went pretty much as high as they were going to go at, 3 years. And I think it was 65 or 66 million bucks. But the Milwaukee just blew it out of the water. And so that's all they can do. And so they've got to be able to go to Giannis now and sit down and say, we've done all we can do. This is it. This is the best guy. We're taking on this financial hit from Lillard. We got the best guy. This is it. This is what we've got. They re-signed all their guys. This is it. Is this good enough? And it's going to be up to Giannis, who probably will take a couple more weeks before saying yes or no. Yes, this is good enough or no. Unfortunately, the right thing for the Bucks to do would have been to just trade him from the beginning. Just say we've got to make a move here, and they didn't do it. They decided, nobody wants to be the guy who trades Giannis Antetokounmpo, and so they wind up making these moves to try to keep him. I don't know that it's the right thing to do, but this is it's the best that they could do, basically.
Yeah, and Steven chiming in saying he's kind of Brook Lopez's replacement, which is also true. They shipped off Lopez, who's a bit of an aging guy, doesn't play a ton of defense.
Yeah.
I guess you get a little bit more defense, certainly, out of Turner. The funny thing with Turner, Sean, is that he was preaching his love for Indiana. Rick Carlo said it was their number 1 priority to keep Turner in the fold. And obviously a lot changes with what happens with Tyrese Halliburton, but it still seemed like it was on Indiana's priority list, and yet he got away from them. What happened here?
Yeah, and that's why Indiana's getting killed. I mean, they, like I say, they had a number they were willing to go up to. They weren't going to go 4 years, which, again, you had the best. you had the best team that you've had in 20 years. You haven't paid the luxury tax. Indiana's a team that hadn't paid the luxury tax, I think, since 2005. It's been 2 decades since Indiana's paid a luxury tax. Now they're in a position where they have to keep this guy, and they wouldn't do it. And I think that's a mistake. I understand the idea of, this is our number, and if somebody goes over it, then that's fine. But in this case, I just think with all the other factors, it just didn't make sense to try to go higher and meet that number. If you got to go to year 4, look, Turner's not a guy whose game is going to disappear as he gets into his early 30s because it's not athleticism. He's a very smart shot blocker, a very good defensive player. Smart defensive player, and he's developed into a great 3-point shooter. He worked hard to do that, and that's a skill that's going to last him. So I was surprised that Indiana didn't make sort of a no holds barred sort of push to keep Miles Turner. But like I said, the Bucks are at a desperate. This was the best player they were going to get in order to keep Giannis. So they sort of felt like they had to do this.
And going back to Dame time for just a second, what happens now? So he gets cut. He gets his pile of money. Does he sign immediately with the team and just sort of rehabs this year? Does he just collect his paychecks, rehab on his own, and then jumps back into the free agency pool next year? What's the play here, Sean?
Yeah, I don't see why he would re-sign quickly. I'm not exactly clear on what he's going to do. But look, he's got the money, obviously, to afford the best physical therapist he can get, and he can do it, at his home in Northern California. He doesn't have to go to, if he wants to finally join the Heat, which is a place that he's wanted to be forever. If he finally wants to do that, you can do that. You can do that in April. You can do that right before the playoffs. Or you can pick a team. Hey, look, if I'm a contender and we've got somebody who's gone down and Damian Lillard's rehabbed his Achilles, it'll be a year in April. He might be ready to come in and give you something in the playoffs. Who knows? But I don't see the point in signing a contract now. I just don't think it'd be. It wouldn't make much sense for the team involved. It wouldn't make so much sense for him. I suppose for the team, it would just be, to make sure you've got him. You sign him for a 2-year deal, so you make sure you got him. Make sure nothing crazy happens. But again, I don't know. At his age and all that, I don't know why you'd feel you need to do that. So I think it would be best for him to just kick back, watch the landscape, and then make a decision next summer.
And by the way, this whole Lillard thing, I'll give it to you in a sec, BG.
Yeah.
The amount that they are essentially stretching, as they're calling it, all right, is also nearly 3 times larger than the previous leader, who was, Sean, any idea? It was the Knicks.
Was it Joakim?
It was Joakim Noah,
yes,
all right, who
right,
had $37.8 million remaining on his deal
Ugh.
in 2018. Of course, that's why I bring it up, Mr. Knicks fan. So this is the biggest ever stretch. Okay, next to my team, which, acquired Noah, and then he was just a wash within a year. He was no longer a good player anymore. It's a disaster for the Knicks. Good grief.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to ask you, Sean, because this happens in the NFL, so you've forgotten more NBA than I'm ever going to know. So maybe if this exists in the same way in the NBA. In the NFL, occasionally what we will see happen every once in a while. So a player blows out his Achilles. So he's a free agent. A team signs him to a 2-year deal. The first year is like no money. It's whatever money, but it allows him to rehab in their facilities. And then the second year is where all the money starts coming in for the player. Are you allowed to do that with NBA contracts and stack it that way or not?
No. So the second year would have to be based on a percentage of the first year. So you can't sign them for $2 million this year and then bump it up to 10. It's just, you can't do that.
Okay.
In fact, if you sign him, this is another reason why you don't want to sign him, at least for now. You'd have to sign him for a 2-year contract. If you sign him now, then you're limited on the raise that you can give him. Of course, that's what happened with Isaiah Hartenstein, for instance. You sign him at a certain level, you can only go up to the next level. Other than that, another team's going to sign him. So you really don't. I think there's plenty of incentive for him to sign nothing until next summer, unless he thinks he can play in the playoffs next year.
All right, we got Bill chiming in here on the comments. Let me bump him in here for a second. Bill's asking, has Philly made any moves that make the team better, or are they still a disaster at this point? I'd go with the latter. I still think they're a disaster. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're still looking to do some things, to make some trades. But they've kind of put their eggs into the basket that they've got, and
Yes.
and they've kind of said, we're coming back with Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid, and hoping that they're healthy this time, hoping that we put last year behind us and move forward, which is probably the right thing to do, because no matter what they were going to do, they're going to get pennies on the dollar. Even if trading Maxey, you probably would have got pennies on the dollar. Obviously, you're not going to get anything for Embiid at this point, and even Paul George, pennies on the dollar. So, right now they're they're very lucky in the draft. They draft Edgecombe, and that, just see how it works out, and then next year maybe you start to shake some things loose. But right now there's just nothing that they can do with the roster that they've got. So it's hard to see Philly. They're just counting on the fact that maybe all these guys will stay healthy. The East is bad. Maybe we get a 3-4 seed, and maybe we can get lucky from there.
And that's what I was going to say, Sean. With the car in neutral, you think about all these other teams, right? In theory, Celtics, Tatum, Achilles blown out, Halliburton, Achilles blown out. Maybe staying in neutral while everyone else is doing this might be the right move to give them their best chance. Who knows if everyone could stay healthy anyway, but maybe that just gives them their best chance anyway.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, you look at, if you're sizing up winners and losers in the East right now, it's probably the Knicks and the Cavs as the winners, because nobody else, maybe Orlando, and we talked about the Hawks, of course. But in terms of, who came out of this all the best, it's probably New York and Cleveland, because, they didn't do a whole lot, right, but everybody else is going backwards. So, that's a good way to go forward, is by going backwards. And I see Steven is mentioning that, Edgecombe is certainly, we'll see how much he can contribute right away. But, the other thing about Quentin Grimes is a good point. They're really in a tough situation with him because he's a restricted free agent. And so Quentin Grimes, we're seeing with restricted free agency, there's usually something that drags out all summer. And it could be that way with him. Jonathan Kuminga is another sort of buckle up situation where, we'll have to see how long it actually takes for something to happen there.
All right. You know where I want to go. Let's talk about them. We still don't have a coach. We're interviewing Mike Brown for a second time. Do we really need to know any more about Mike Brown than we all already know? Dawn Staley was apparently in consideration, at least by rumors. I'm not sure if the Knicks actually talked to her or not. That would have been innovative, to say the least, to bring in the first ever female head coach to the NBA on a team, or within a team, that is expected not only to make the playoffs, but to, again, make a fairly deep run, assuming the roster stays intact. Any news on what's going on in New York with the coaching situation? Let's start there, and then we can talk about the few table scraps that the Knicks are chasing these days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I'd call it news, because it really looks like they're heading in the Mike Brown direction. It looks like that's where this is going to wind up, and that's what you got.
Am I wrong?
Am I wrong? Bad coach?
Am I wrong to say it's uninspiring? I agree with you. I don't think he's a bad coach. He has a lot of experience. He's known as a player's coach. He's very opposite of Tom Thibodeau, but it's not an inspiring.
Come on, 4-time NBA champion, 2-time coach of the year, baby. Look at that. Look at those accolades.
When you sit on a bench as an assistant and you get a ring, it's nice, but it's not the same. Okay, so let's not start throwing out the ring thing. Remember once Greg Robinson came to Syracuse with a couple of Super Bowl rings, Boy Green. How'd that work out for us? Okay, so please, let's not go with the ring situation as a means of evaluating Mike Brown, the coach. Go ahead, evaluate him for us, Sean. Is he any good?
Well, so, obviously we know as much as we know about Mike Brown because he's been around. He's coached, he coached obviously with the Cavaliers, one of LeBron's first coaches. He coached with the Lakers. That was a disaster. A lot of people forget that. I think he would like to forget it. And then he coached with the Kings. And if there's a reason to be positive, it's because of the Kings. He really showed that he could be a different coach, that he could be more malleable. He's such his offenses were just awful, during LeBron's tenure in Cleveland. His offenses were really hard to watch. But when you look at what they did in Sacramento, they were a much different team. He was playing up tempo. He was playing with, with multiple guards. He was using small lineups, stuff that he never did when he was in Cleveland. And I think one thing that having been with Steve Kerr, especially, I think a lot of coaches will tell you what they learned from Steve Kerr is the ability to delegate and the ability to say, okay, I'm going to make the final decision. It's on me, but, I'm going to have the right people running my offense, the right people running my defense and player development and all those other things. So, you have to hope that you can take all that and that'll be a different coach than kind of what we assume he's going to be. That's the positive spin here. But, still, you're right. Like this is, did you fire Tom Thibodeau just to bring in Mike Brown? That it seems like a lateral move at best.
And still no word of whether they talked to Mike Malone or not. It does not look like they even.
It doesn't look like they did
that tree at all.
Yeah, no, right. And I think the Don Staley thing was sort of a PR.
Okay.
Like
I'm kind of
sensing talk to Don Staley. It'll look like we're not we're not just doing retreads here.
Fair enough.
Hey, Sean, what did you make of the social media activity of one Jalen Brunson? Because, Mark Stein in his report shared apparently that the Knicks plan on, we don't know who their head coach is, but there's a lot of leaning that's going to be Mike Brown, but that the majority of the coaching staff's going to stay the same and that Jalen Brunson's father is going to stay. And a Knicks fan account reshared one of the quotes from Mark Stein's article, and Jalen Brunson went, "What?" in all caps, a question mark, exclamation point, which only leaves us to interpret what he means by it. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk that maybe Rick Brunson isn't the most popular guy in that Knicks locker room, which I don't know how much I'd buy it. Rick Brunson's been on a few other staffs, and I know he's rubbed some people the wrong way, certainly, in Chicago and some other places. But, I think that the relationship he has obviously with Jalen, but not just Jalen. I mean, the other kids, I call them kids, but they were kids when they were at Villanova. But the other guys that he's known since they were kids, I don't think it's that bad there. I think maybe there's a bit of a click, and if you're outside of the click, maybe you don't like him that much. But I think it makes sense to have him there. If Jalen wants him there, it makes sense to have him there. And I think that's what it comes down to, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's talk about the big signings that the Knicks had here in free agency. Well, it's not official yet, but it does look like Jordan Clarkson is going to come to the Knicks after clearing waivers. Let's talk about that one, and then let's talk about the big guy. You want to go for it. I think it's Gershon Yabusele. He was with the Sixers last year. His numbers are okay, 11 points, 5.6 rebounds last season. Knicks obviously need a little help with the big men. So let's talk about those two additions because, again, the Knicks didn't need to make big splash moves during the offseason. What they needed was, according to everyone, to add more depth, to have more players that they could bring into the rotation. So did they or will they achieve that with at least these two players at this particular point?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Clarkson is a pure scorer. I mean, he's obviously getting up there in age, but he's not going to he's not going to be a starter. He's not going to be a guy who you're running your offense through. He's a guy who we've got nothing going here. Let's put in Jordan Clarkson and he can fire up the offense a little bit like Bogdanovich was in that stretch where Bogdanovich was good for the Knicks. He can kind of give you that role of a guy who can come in and score when the offense is stagnant. And I think that's something certainly that they could use. Yabusele, everybody loves him. He was here in Boston when he was young, he didn't. He was a good player, but he didn't know how to play basketball. He's traveled the world since then. I think he went to China for a bit and, kind of came back and was in Europe as well. He came back and played very well with Philadelphia. He showed that, kind of the raw skills that he had. He really had polished them up quite a bit. So I think it's a good signing for the Knicks. Again, a 15-minute player. per night, but people love him. He's Dancing Panda. He's
The Dancing Panda.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
very
got,
nice nickname.
people will. He'll be very popular at Madison Square Garden. He does not have the typical NBA player build. Let's say he's got a bit of a backside, which which is good. He uses it to his advantage. And but I think especially like as a guy who can lighten the mood in the locker room, I think he's good for that. But he's become a really good player as well. As a 15 to 20 minute guy.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the Knicks end up doing here. One more on my Celtics I want to get in here, Sean. Is there any other big blow-up happening? I saw that working in our comment section a little bit earlier. Stephen Fox saying it. What about Boston blowing it up? Now that they've gotten under the second apron, is that all they wanted to do, and now they'll make some minuscule moves and ride into the sea what they have? Or is there a Jaylen Brown or Derek White package thing that could happen?
Yeah, I think there was some efforts to trade Anthony Simons, after getting him, and that could have gotten them farther below where they are now, and put them in a position where they could have re-signed Luke Cornett, which they wanted to do, but none of that happened fast enough. So Cornett winds up getting a 4-year deal, really nice deal in San Antonio. Good for him, but the Celtics didn't have time to get rid of Simons and have the money to keep Cornett at the same time, and they like Simons. So I mean, if that was always going to be the approach, was if we wind up keeping Simons, then we wind up keeping Simons. That's fine. But they did want to try to move him in order to have time to keep Cornett and perhaps keep Al Horford as well. It looks like that's not going to happen. And now it looks like perhaps they're going to lose Horford too. There are a lot of teams.
Where's he going?
Certainly Golden State is one that has some interest. He would make sense with the Knicks. I don't know that he would actually do that. I think the Lakers. You look at the Lakers, man. We talked about the LeBron stuff, but one of the things that they needed to do is get a big guy, and they have struck out on every single, and if they strike out on Horford and DeAndre Ayton, those are their last two chances. They struck out on Lopez, they struck out on Capella, they struck out on Daron Sharp. So they've got basically two guys left on the list, and Horford's one of them. So that's something to watch as well. He could potentially wind up there with the Lakers, but everybody, Al Horford's the kind of guy that no matter where he goes, everybody except the Sixers didn't work out with the Sixers, but other than that, everybody loves Al Horford.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's get another one in here. Sean, you just mentioned it with DeAndre Ayton. What's going on there? Because I heard immediately people went, Lakers Ayton. That's definitely happening. Is that where he's going, or what is the plan for DeAndre Ayton, who hits that free agency pool?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is shaping up that way. I think Indiana's, having lost Miles Turner, maybe turn around, and Indiana was actually a team. Back when Ayton was going through all his contract stuff a couple of years ago, Indiana was a team that came in and was willing to make an offer for him in restricted free agency, which it didn't work out, obviously, but they've had an interest in him for a while. But the problem is, if you bring him to the Lakers, he's a very good offensive player. He can't guard anybody. He just doesn't. He doesn't guard anybody, and he wants the ball. He wants to score. He wants to be a 20-point per game scorer, but he doesn't do a lot of the other things, and that's problematic. And so he's not been tremendously popular in the places that he's gone, in part because of that. In Portland, Portland just drafted a couple centers and made all these moves for big guys, and then they wind up buying out. They're basically going to pay DeAndre Ayton to not play for them. That kind of tells you something. So yeah, the Lakers certainly make some sense, but I think they have some caution in terms of is this really a guy we want to bring into our situation, especially as a guy that maybe we're looking to keep for a few years. I don't know. He's really he's kind of backed himself into a corner here.
Again, we're speaking with Sean Devaney, our NBA insider from Athlon Sports, editor and writer extraordinaire. What other splashes are left, if there is any? We're at the community pool. Some people were in the front row at SeaWorld. They want to get splashed. People love a good splash. Is there any left here, Sean Devaney?
Well, we'll see if there's what happens with Giannis. Obviously,
Sure, right.
that's sort of the next the next big thing in terms of potential trade. I think as far as names on the market left, you're looking at Chris Paul, you're looking at Russell Westbrook, guys like that. And then you've got the restricted free agents. I mean, that's going to be something to keep an eye on with Grimes, but also Kuminga is the big one. We'll see if he gets signed and traded, perhaps to Miami, which is where he probably would like to go if he leaves Golden State. But he's probably the next big thing. I do think that we'll see what happens with LeBron too. I mean, this is going to be a topic of conversation throughout the summer: is will LeBron James be traded? And he's smart enough, and Rich Paul is smart enough to know that that's where this was heading. That's where this was, that by saying the things they did and acting the way they did, they knew that was going to be something that'll be discussed all summer. So, that's obviously the big thing to watch as well. So, yeah, I think there's some big things on the back burner, but the things on the front burner right now are relatively minor. Like I said, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Horford, guys like that.
Talking with Sean Devaney, our NBA insider from Athlon Sports here. This is the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital. Don't forget to like our channel here. That always is wonderful. Give us some props there. And also don't forget to subscribe. You see that right down in the bottom right corner of your screen. All right, we can't talk about this free agency situation, Sean, without talking about what the Houston Rockets have done. I mean, they have made some significant moves here. They are bolstering an already pretty good lineup. They obviously have a pretty good coach. Let's talk about what the Rockets have done and how much have they improved themselves with what looked like already a pretty good team. Are they now on the level, say, of Oklahoma City at this point?
Yeah, I mean, they were the number 2 seed in the West last year, and obviously that didn't work out for them. They were still a young team, but they've certainly solidified. Their biggest issue being, we need a go-to scorer, especially late in games. You can't do much better than Kevin Durant in terms of that. So to be able to bring him back and still have those really good defensive players that they've got, they're going to be very, very tough. They had to trade away Dylan Brooks in the Durant trade, but I think swapping him out for Dorian Finney-Smith, pretty good deal there. They're bringing Capella as well, and that's one of the things is if you look at the West and you have Oklahoma City and then you have a bunch of teams. Not only did Houston improve, but they also whacked the Lakers quite a bit, by taking Dorian Finney-Smith and taking Capella, who's a guy that the Lakers were looking at for their center spot. They've not only boosted themselves, they've also really hurt the Lakers as well. So I think, as you're sizing up, I think Denver did a pretty good job as well. With the guys that they brought in to swap out Michael Porter Jr., bring back Cam Johnson, helps them with the financial flexibility. They bring back Bruce Brown. Valanciunas is there now. You finally have a backup for Jokic. So Denver's looking pretty good. I like what they did too. So I think you've got Oklahoma City. I think you've got Houston and Denver there right below them. And then you have, a bunch of really strong teams underneath that in the Western Conference.
And just going back to the Rockets for a second, one of the common themes here, and I think I've heard that it's an Ime Udoka kind of thing, is he likes those vets. So if you look at some of the in-house business they've done here, Van Vliet re-signed, Adams extended, Capella now. Those 3 guys are all 31 years old. Finney-Smith is 32. Durant is 36. Obviously, they added him to the fold. I mean, this is a team of experienced, grizzled guys here. An interesting way to put together a roster, but what kind of timeline does this unit have with so many guys essentially into their 30s and some into their late 30s?
Yeah, and that's going to be the tricky thing is marrying those two things because you also have Sengun, you have Thompson, you've got these young guys, Barry Smith they just paid, so you've got this very young core and this much more veteran core, and I think that they're hoping that there's going to be playoff experience, there's going to be deep playoff runs that's going to help the young guys as they grow, and as these guys age out, they bring in a new set of players behind them. That's certainly the theory. But as things stand right now, they're going for it. I think there's no question that the moves they've made are designed to help them win right now, and they think they can challenge Oklahoma City with that.
When, Sean, does this collective bargaining agreement expire? I mean, this is a collective bargaining agreement that was built around the pandemic and the losses that the NBA took around the pandemic, creating these 2 aprons. So is there relief coming somewhere in the future where this changes the landscape of basketball? Because right now we're in this confined landscape, as we talked about very early in this conversation, of not having those robust free agents out there, those guys shopping the big names. So now, as I said, we're seeing more trades, we're seeing more smaller moves. Talk about that and whether that changes, and is it any time in the near future?
I remember talking about this with Charlie Grantham, who was the Players Association head way back when David Stern was first starting, and they're the first ones that really worked out the way the CBA and the NBA is unique because it's basically a revenue sharing between players. You get X percentage and the owners get, and then they divide it up from there. Right. So he said one thing he said, and this has always stuck with me, and it's turned out to be true over the years, is that once you give the owners something, you don't get it back. Once you give the owner that every collective bargain is the owners taking a little bit more. They never give anything back to the players, and that's been true in every CBA. So what's been happening has been a steady. These aprons are essentially hard caps, which the union has fought for years. But they have the action. They're not exactly hard caps, but they basically it's very easy to trigger hard caps on teams. And so there's. You're not going to see the owners give anything back on this. This is how it's going to be. I think they'd like to loosen the rules a little bit to make things easier for teams, to make some transactions, to make the second apron maybe a little less punitive. But that's going to be more helping teams, get out of situations rather than, being beneficial to players. So I think that the rules are going to be here to stay. And when you look at the TV broadcast money, it's hard for the players to argue, that this isn't good because they're doing pretty well here too.
I'll offer this last one from Steven, a very, very well-versed NBA guy. Obviously, thanks for your comments throughout this discussion, Steven. The Spurs are stacked after this draft. I mean, there's not a lot of free agency going on with the Spurs, but the Spurs are building something that I think would make even Greg Popovich proud. Talk a little bit about where they are in their evolution right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people were talking about, and talking to people around the league, agents and stuff, said, well, geez, if they make a move for Kevin Durant, if they make a move for Giannis, that there'll be they never considered that. They never considered Kevin Durant, and they never considered Giannis. And if Giannis goes on the block, I'd be surprised if they change, if they come off of that. And the reason is because they love the young guys that they've got, and they are absolutely in a great position with Castle, and not just Wembanyama, but with Castle and guys like that, and Harper now. They're in a great position. They love the young guys they have. They've got draft picks. They're set up to be something along the line. They don't have the number of draft picks, of course, that Oklahoma City has, but they're set up to kind of do that sort of thing, where they can rather than having to pay guys, they can draft replacements and stay sort of cap friendly that way. The Spurs, I don't think we'll see them challenge for a championship this year, maybe not even next year, but they're coming. There's no question. They're going to build up to where they win 48, 50 games this year, get some playoff experience, and then we start to see them go deeper and deeper in the playoffs and become a legitimate contender from there.
Yeah. All right, Sean. Always great to talk to you. Thank you for your little extended, discussion here on the web. We have no time limits. We can stay here all day if we want. And so it's just great to break down all this stuff that has happened in NBA free agency. So awesome breakdown as always. That's why we love having you on the show. So thank you so much. Have a great day, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there he is. Sean Devaney, Athlon Sports, our NBA insider, one of the best in the biz. I love it. He studied it. He knows all about it. And I always want to have those difficult questions, Boy Green, like, why can't the Knicks do this? Why weren't they able to keep Isaiah Hartenstein? He always has the answers for me, which is why I love bringing Sean back. He just really has been an avid follower and an avid writer for the NBA for years, and really knows it inside and out. So I love having discussions with him. And I think he's very fair in his assessments as well.
Yes.
About the various teams in the NBA. So yeah, we go big NBA day today. Porzingis, we don't like him too much. Just look at the New York part. Don't go.
Okay.
Whoops. Okay. Was that a 16 maybe, or was that a 9? It's upside down or something. Maybe just
that's hard to tell.
My shirt. Yeah. Those jerseys you regret buying.
Well, I've
It's
got
the number 4
75
pick in
of
the
them in the
draft at
closet
some
over
point.
there.
Yeah,
So
you do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're a real heavy duty Jersey guy. All right, I'll tell you what. Number one, I want to remind people, hey, if you like our videos, please hit that thumbs up and like us. We
Mhm.
still want to increase our subscribership as well and get more people on these videos. So please share it out with your friends. Let them know we exist. Again, it's at MC Show Digital on our YouTube channel. That's the primary place where you could subscribe. Of course, we send it out to our Twitter, our Facebook feeds. Paul has been sending it out to his many subscribers on his Boy Green daily show, which
Mhm.
you're up bright and early again this morning, right?
I was.
I caught a little of your show this
Oh,
morning.
okay, nice.
Yeah, you got a lot of interesting things going on. You got a big giveaway
Oh,
going away,
yes.
or a raffle. What do you
Yeah,
call it? Yeah, you got like a big
yeah.
prize that you're
It's
giving away. Like
both.
go
Yeah,
and had it. I got to ask. I'm just going to ask you publicly here. I was going to ask you
sure.
private. Let's just ask it on the show here.
Yeah.
How did you get this chef to work with you to put together all this cooking that's going to be going on at this
Yes.
Jets Dallas game? I mean, tell
Yeah.
people a little about this. You could cross promote. It's all right. I don't
Okay.
care.
Okay. I appreciate it. Yeah. Week 5, the New York Jets host the Dallas Cowboys at
Mhm.
MetLife Stadium. That is
Yeah.
Sunday, October 5th. And this Boy Green Daily Show that you're referencing is this Jet show I've been doing every day at 7:30 in the morning, whether it's holiday, doesn't matter the day, Saturday, Sunday, all 7 days of the week. And it's just gotten a lot of unique fans from a lot of different places. They
Yeah.
know every morning at 7:30. So as soon as I log in, like I set up the show the night before, set it up the morning. There's people waiting in the chat ready for the show to go because
All
it's just
right.
every day at
Love that.
7:30, which is awesome. And yes, Chef Kevin Gilbert is his name. He is a diehard New York Jets fan, but also a professional chef. And he always came on and called into the show and gave his Jets takes very organized. Like
Wow.
he'd be listening to the show, taking notes, and then he'd call and say, "Paul, I got a few points I want to go over things you said, or I agree with, or disagree with." And
I
he would
love
just go point number 1, point number 2,
Yeah.
point number 3, and very passionate and obviously articulate.
For
So I was
sure.
like, "Wow, this guy is very deep in his game." And then every once in a while, we just like the radio show, we splashed a little life
Yeah.
in there. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so he's a chef. Okay, he does this for a living." And when I wanted to potentially do a tailgate party for
Yeah.
a game and connect all the dots, I said, well, who better than a Jets fan that's, doing this? So I called and reached out to him. I said, hey, chef, I know this out of the blue, and I've never done one of these tailgate things before. So this is brand new. It's not like I have some well-oiled operation here. I'm asking you to jump on the train. This is brand new. Let me know what you think. Would you be in for catering for people? And I
Mhm.
said, I'm going to be honest. I don't even know how many people are going to come to this. I'm just going to throw it out there. And I said, let's shoot for like 20 or 25 people, is what I told Chef at the beginning of this. And
Mhm.
we'll see where it goes from there. And he says, sure, I'll do it. And then I put it out in the universe for interest. And 50 people are coming to this game. So it's more than double what I could have potentially thought
Excellent.
it could have been. And it's been exceptional. And Chef made a custom menu for the event. And like he gave me my own special burger because he heard that at the diner each week I have like a breakfast burger.
Oh wow.
So
He
he's
named
making.
a burger after
Oh
you?
yeah. Okay, Lurch.
A
Let's
Boy
get
Green
your.
burger? What is it?
He did. Okay, I will give you the menu. Here it is from Chef Kevin Gilbert. He made a custom menu for us, and here it is. So
This
I
is
will
awesome.
give you the full menu.
Oh,
Here it
let's
is.
hear it.
Okay.
I might have to go to this thing. You got a
Hey,
chef cooking.
hey.
This isn't just some throwing some dogs and burgers on a grill. You got somebody that
Yes.
actually knows how to cook at this thing. This is
All right.
impressive.
I'm going to give you the full menu here, Lurch, and we'll go through it. So there's a variety of sliders, okay, that are coming
Mhm.
here. Here's the first one. It's a spicy slider. It's a beef slider with melted pepper jack, pepper whiskey relish, smoked chipotle mayo on a potato
Whoa.
bun. So that's the first one he has offered. There's
This is
another one.
Unbelievable.
A 3-cheese slider. It's a beef slider with melted Monterey, American, and cheddar cheese on a potato bun. Okay, so there's that one in there. There is one of my other Jet content creators in the universe is going to be with me at this event, and he made Chef Kevin Gilbert a custom burger for my friend Woody. It's called a barbecue beer slider. It's a beef slider basted with Tank 7 barbecue beer sauce, melted aged cheddar, applewood smoked bacon, topped with smoked
Oh my
pulled pork on a
God.
potato bun. And then he made one for me, which is called BG Sunday Tradition. It's a beef slider with a sunny side up quail egg, applewood smoked bacon, American cheese, and a potato bun. And
So it
beyond
can't even
that,
be like a regular egg. It has to be a quail egg. Like it's some
Apparently.
kind of special, bird.
yeah,
That,
yeah.
and they're turning that egg into wow. This is
Yeah.
what chefs do. That is
Yeah.
incredible.
And
my
there's
God.
other stuff on here like hot dogs. There's hot dogs, Nathan's and Hebrew National griddled hot dogs with whiskey, pepper jam, crispy jalapenos, diced applewood smoked bacon on a pretzel bun. He's also bringing ziti, aka baked ziti, melted mozzarella, shaved Parmesan Romano with fresh basil, house-made potato chips tossed with truffle oil, herbs, and
please.
Parmesan
Just
cheese.
stop
Chef's
already.
macaroni salad, garden salad, and toasted pretzel sticks with a custom beer mustard. So all of that is going to be at the tailgate special.
Oh my God. I think I just put on 10 pounds just listening to the menu.
Oh my God, it's so delicious.
Goodness, this
It
guy
just
can
sounds
cook,
phenomenal.
and the names and the descriptions.
Yes.
This isn't just burgers and dogs first.
No.
This is well beyond that. And did I hear through the rumor mill
Yes.
correctly that
Yeah.
Jamie, the FedEx guy, may be attending this thing? Is that true?
It's not maybe. It's official. Jamie, the FedEx guy, and a Cowboys cousin of his is coming to this game and going to enjoy all that wonderful food before the game. So it's amazing.
Wow.
And yes, to go full circle back to the giveaway, something we thought would be, going to an NFL game is expensive. And I totally understand that. And for a normal person, if they wanted to come right now to this event with all that food included and T-shirts and all this other jazz that comes with it, it's $300 a person, and that's expensive.
$300, you get the food and you get the shirts and you
sit in 228A. So you sit
and it includes a ticket too.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
The $300 price does include a ticket. The food and drink is all inclusive before the game. You can eat as much as your heart desires, and then How
many tickets do you have? I mean, do you have an unlimited amount of tickets here? Like.
Basically, I mean, they will let me know if I run out. But,
but you still have tickets available to this.
Oh, so Lerch,
this is very reasonable. Listen, NFL games are expensive.
Yes.
I'm a little worried though. If I came down to MetLife in my full Giants regalia, which is what you would expect me to show up in, I just don't know how your Jet fans would react. I mean, I'd be totally against the Cowboys, so they'd love that.
Well, see, there you go. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody I hate more than the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys are literally embittered enemies. I mean, they are a public enemy numero uno. So I would certainly be in the corner of the Jets, but I don't see myself all decked out in green, despite the fact that I know that I'll be surrounded by people in green. That's for sure.
Well, Lerch, so you mentioned it, that the $300 per person is reasonable, to your point. Well, how about this? The raffle tickets, this is how we're doing the giveaway. They're $20 a pop. For $20, all you have to do is this. You subscribe to my YouTube channel. You subscribe to my friend's YouTube channel. His name is James Woody. I'm about to throw it up on the screen.
And by the way, I have seen Woody on your show.
Yes.
And Woody looks like a guy that could eat some food. I mean, I could see him throwing down some major burgers at this thing. All these fancy
It could
burgers.
definitely happen. Here it is. Here are all the rules.
There he is. Look at Woody.
Tailgate.
I mean, Woody's got some girth. Man, Woody can definitely throw down some food.
Yeah, he's a big guy. And so if you subscribe to both of our YouTube channels, which is free to do, and you submit a $20 raffle ticket, you have a chance to get 2 tickets to the game, 2 tailgate tickets, and 2 T-shirts, all for $20. So you could buy as many raffle tickets as you want to increase your chances, obviously. But yeah, you could send in $20 to my PayPal or Venmo at BoyGreen25, and you have a chance to win this. So people are submitting raffle tickets throughout the entire month, and then it'll be up to a random wheel of name picker to see who ends up winning this contest.
Well, look at this. Take that graphic off the screen there for a second.
Sure.
And I'm gonna throw up a comment here. Listen to this. Brandon, one of your guys, says, Paul, I was Phil Simms for Halloween in 1996. Is he joking about that, or is that serious?
No, he is dead serious. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. He came in as that was his Halloween costume.
I love that.
He brought that up.
See?
So, to be honest, Lerch,
can't we just all get along?
That's what I was going to say. If you bring all your Giants gear, I think Jet fans will accept you as a neutral, obvious hater of the Dallas Cowboys. So you're part of our group. So to be honest, it's quite compelling.
I'm not one of those obnoxious Giant fans. There are some Giant fans that I myself would say are a bit obnoxious, that just they don't behave in proper decorum. But I time, place, and circumstance, I get it. I get it.
So so Lerch,
if you're interested, I might be standing along with the guy who once wore a Phil Simms jersey for Halloween. That makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. So Lerch, if you're interested, you want to reach out ASAP, and we'll see if we can get you a seat to the dance and figure it all out.
Tempting to root against the Cowboys to eat all that delicious food.
And my pop's going to be there, so he's going to be there in person. You can give him the business in person. I'm sure he really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. That might make me not want to go, that your father's going to be there, Mr. Dallas Cowboy fan in his giant. What's he going to be wearing? A Staubach jersey or
He has not
Emmitt
said
Smith
yet,
or
but a lot of Jet fans
something?
have speculated it.
How many Cowboys jerseys does your father have?
Oh boy, he doesn't have anywhere near as much as
Not as
me.
many as you. I know you are a jersey nut.
Which sounds, that sounds about right. But he's got a very eclectic. Like he has all kinds of bizarre Cowboys jerseys from over the years and
So he
other
got a
jerseys.
too tall. He's got an old too tall jersey.
Ed
You think
Too
he's got
Tall
one of those?
Jones. That's a good question. I don't know if he has it. I need to do like an itinerary of his
Yeah.
closet to
Why don't
try
you
to
do
give
that?
everyone an
Yeah.
update on
Get an
the
inventory
jerseys.
on your
Yeah.
dad's Cowboy jerseys stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I would probably borrow that jersey because, as you know, people that are listening in the digital world, maybe we might have some crossover
Of
radio
course.
folks who are now bleeding into our channel, and I hope that we continue to grow that
Yes.
audience. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe, bottom right of your screen, and like our videos
Yes.
as well. That certainly will help the channel grow. I lost a bet, and I always, I live up to my losses. Sometimes
Sure.
it might take me a little time, but I always make
Mhm.
sure I still owe somebody a lunch that someone keeps reminding me of. But one of the bets I lost was I don't remember do you remember what the original bet was? I don't remember what it was anymore. So long ago. But anyway, I am now relegated for our Champs League fantasy football draft.
Oh, I remember what it
What
is
was
now. Yes.
it had to do with the Commanders, right? Didn't it?
It did. It was the Commanders-Lions divisional playoff
Yes.
game, and the
Yeah.
Commanders were a massive underdog.
Yes.
And you said, well, there's no chance the Commanders are going to win. And you and
Not gonna
Jamie, the
beat the
FedEx guy
Lions.
who's going to this event,
Yes.
are now, you guys ended up making a bet on it.
I took the Lions and they went down. Very, very. Dan Campbell. Come on, man. What are you doing? Killing me.
Brutal.
So one of the commitments in my losing the bet is that I would show up to our fantasy football champs league, which is our top league, in Dallas Cowboys regalia. So I now have to, do the walk of shame into the draft with Dallas gear on.
To reiterate, Lerch is a diehard Giants fan.
So this is as painful as it gets.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it. I'll do it. I'm not going to be happy about it. But, I immediately thought, well, I could borrow maybe a jersey from, I'm not going to buy a Cowboys jersey. That's for sure.
Of course
I'd
not.
if
That's
I bought
a
it.
travesty,
That'd be a
right?
waste of money. So I know several people in my life who are Cowboys fans that I'm sure I could get a jersey from. And I thought of your father, and then I was like, oh my God, if I put that on, that thing would just be a dress. I'd be like, in half the jersey. So no jersey from your dad. But I do have a friend in New York. The only problem I have with my friend Victor in New York, who's a diehard Cowboys fan, the guy that brought me. All right. And we'll share another quick story here.
Okay, sure.
We've never shared in the digital world. So one of my buddies, who is a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan, invites me. This is many, many years ago. To watch the Giants play the Cowboys at a Long Island bar when I lived down in Queens, New York. So he's a good buddy of mine. I said, sure, he's a Cowboys fan. I'm a Giants fan. This will be fun. I'll go in there and, give him some heck, and hopefully, Giants win. And I'm walking out with a smile on my face. What he didn't tell me is that he was bringing me into a rabid Dallas Cowboys bar. Okay. Where everyone in the bar, even though this was on Long Island in New York, was a Cowboys fan. And I walked in my Lawrence Taylor Giants jersey and my Giants NY cap. And immediately, the whole bar went silent. Everyone looked over. I was like, what the heck has he brought me to here? Where am I? Is this New York? Who are all these degenerates, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. So people start talking again and life goes on. And I go into the bathroom, after having a couple of beers or whatever, I go into the bathroom and
naturally
I'm in there at first by myself. And then a guy comes in wearing a Cowboys jersey. And I'm at the urinal and he's like giving me guff. He's like, you ought to get that thing off your back, I kind of turn and give him a what the heck? Next thing you know, I'm in a brawl in the bathroom of this guy and I got fisticuffs. This guy was like, he was very confrontational and he wasn't going to let it go. And, I'm from New York, man. I'm not going to sit there and take that nonsense. So, we had at it, then my buddy came in there and broke it up. And I got guffed up a little bit. He got guffed up a little bit. I don't know who won it. Who the hell knows? It was one of those ridiculous fights, we just just wailing on each other and nothing really happens. But that was brutal. That was the last time that I was around a whole group of Dallas fan, so I don't have fond memories. So yeah, there's a lot of hatred for the Cowboys.
Well, by the way, here it is. So you just heard that story from
Mhm.
Bubba Badshaw. Here is him in the Phil Sims
Oh, he's got a pick.
jersey.
Oh,
Yeah, let
love
me
it.
bring
Throw
this
it up
up
there.
here.
Let's take a look
Yeah,
at this.
here we go. That is him in
Oh,
the
look at
Phil
that.
Sims jersey. Yeah,
Wow,
there
he was
he
like a
is.
little boy back then.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's Brandon Badshaw back in
Okay.
1996. Look at
Mm.
that. Unbelievable. And he
Ah,
said, he
the photos
wanted
we
to be,
save.
yeah. He said, I wanted to be Robin because my cousin was Batman, but I ended up being Phil Sims, which, of course, is the natural pivot when you can't be Robin, is to be Phil Sims. So there you go. Badshaw. What a picture. What a story. Thank you for sharing that, Badshaw, here on the show. So, yeah, Lerch, we'll keep you posted, or you keep me posted. Maybe you're going to be joining Jamie next to him at this MetLife Stadium Jets-Cowboys game. Wow.
Yeah. All right, a couple other news and notes I want to get to. Kim, why don't we do this? You see,
Sure.
and you've been watching, if you've been watching our feed, folks, you see up in that corner right up above my head there, be the right corner, top corner of your screen. Those are our sponsors. Many of them, all of them, as a matter of fact, were sponsors with us on the radio show and have come over and are taking this journey into digital with us. So I want to give them some props. You see them fly up there. Our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, a mattress right here in Syracuse. Great guy, Paul, the owner, gives people 30 to 70% off on mattresses. You get all the name brands. You see Cam's Pizzeria pop up there. Tony Calacibetta and his folks at Cam's with 2 locations up by you in Oswego and also in Camillus. I was just in Camillus yesterday getting a couple of slices, as a matter of fact. We got our friends at Bayberry Automotive who do tremendous work as well. And you just see it right there. Play It Again Sports. All right. That is a franchise. You might even have one in your neck of the woods, wherever you live. But they basically sell gently used sporting goods, and you can bring your sporting goods into them. So if you do live in the Central New York or Greater Central New York area, go to our friends at Play It Again. They're on Erie Boulevard in DeWitt, and you can bring in, say, used golf clubs they're looking for right now, baseball gear, and you get cash for it. I brought some what I thought were really old golf clubs. They weren't like wooden golf clubs, but they were several generations old, and I got good money for them, man. I was like, I used that money on our Pittsburgh trip that we went on a couple of weeks ago. So we have some really cool sponsors, and we have created some nice little video commercials. So Paul, I'll let you be the DJ here. We'll take a little bit of a break. I'll have a sip of water. You can have one too. Everybody take a breather for a second. If you want to get up from your chair for a sec or get away from your phone for a minute, you can. We'll take a quick break. We'll show you a couple of our sponsors, and then we'll be back. I want to talk a little bit about what happened with Darren Waller yesterday and a couple other news and notes before we say goodbye. So stick around. More to come. This is the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. But first, this word from our sponsors.
When you think of Cam's Pizzeria, think about 2 of your favorites. Their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
Warm weather sports season is here, and if you want to gear up and save money on some of the top brands of golf, soccer, and baseball equipment, and much more, Play It Again Sports can be your solution. With both new and gently used gear, Play It Again has prices way less than regular retail stores. And for all you golfers out there, get some quick money for those clubs you've got stashed away and are collecting dust. Play It Again is always looking for quality gear. No appointment necessary. Just bring it into the store. Play It Again Sports in the DeWitt Town Center on Erie Boulevard. Don't spend more. Play it again. Play It Again Sports. Syracuse.com.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress Outlet, you'll get a unique experience. One that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses, and one that finds the exact mattress for you, both in comfort and in price. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. Dropbox Syracuse Mattress Outlet. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com. And you saw there in one of those cool commercials us doing a live broadcast. We were at Play It Again Sports down there in DeWitt a couple of weeks ago, and fun place to be. A lot of people coming and going, a lot of people turning in gear, buying gear. And think about it, so much of our sporting goods, we buy them and then we just throw it away, or we give them away. Why not, give them to someone else and get money for it in the process? It's kind of a cool business, a really unique business. I'm really, really proud. Sean Hines, the owner there, and the folks who played again for partnering up with us and taking this journey with us. We're really, really excited about them being in the digital space with us. So again, if you can, you're in the neck of the woods, in the neighborhood, please, go see our sponsors and let them know you heard about them right here on our digital radio show. To go a long way in us holding on to many of the sponsors that have come with us and migrated with us from the radio world. Well, something unusual happened yesterday, Boy Green, in the NFL that we don't see very often. Darren Waller, who had basically told the Giants, I don't want to play football anymore. I'm done. I'm finished. This is not fun for me anymore. I don't like training camp. I don't like any of this stuff. He bails on the Giants. Was it middle of last year? I mean, it was kind of, did he
the summer of last year, actually.
The summer
is when as he was deciding, right?
Yeah, so he didn't even play. Right, that's right. He didn't even play.
He did not play this past season. That's correct. Right.
So he tells the Giants last summer, hey, I'm out, man. Training camp, too hot. I don't want to do those 2 a day, so I don't want to, drink all that water. I'm out.
Yeah.
And then this guy who, listen, he's got a really interesting background. I mean, Waller had some substance abuse problems very early in his career, really sent him in a bad place. He had to leave. But everybody always kind of recognized this as a really talented guy. And when he got his act together and came back, he was a phenomenal player. And the Giants thought, hey, we can still milk a little bit more out of this guy at the back end of his career here, where he could be a really serviceable tight end for us. And then he basically kind of has a mediocre season and then just says bye-bye. And the Giants are like, oh, boy, that didn't work out. Well, now he comes to the Giants and says, I want to play again, but not for you. And so the Giants say, okay, we'll unretire you, but we still have your rights, and we'll see what we can get for you. And they end up making a trade with the Dolphins, who just lost Jonnu, Jonnu Smith, their starting tight end, and in a trade. And now they have Darren Waller. And, look, it's not earth-shattering. I mean, the Giants traded a 6th rounder and a 7th rounder. They gave the Dolphins a 7th rounder in 2027, but got back a 6th rounder in next year's draft. So they'll pick a little earlier. So they moved up around for a guy that essentially they never expected to play again, and a year. So I kind of like that for the Giants. I mean, you get something for something that you thought you would get nothing for. I'll take it. And if Waller plays well for the Dolphins, I don't think I'm going to care as a Giants fan, to be honest with you. I don't think he will, but if he does, I'm not going to care. We moved up in the draft. We got another draft pick sooner. I like it.
It is just bizarre, though, that an article just came out like 2 months ago or something where Darren Waller reiterated his reason why he walked away from the game. And an article just came out. And all of a sudden, boom, I'm back, baby. So fascinating. Obviously, he's incredibly talented. He's a former Pro Bowler. But there's been 2 things that have gone on in his life that have prevented him from being a multi-time Pro Bowler. Number one, he is never healthy. He's only been healthy in 2 of his 9 seasons in the NFL. This season upcoming will be his 10th. And number 2, you mentioned the off-the-field issues that have been some demons that he's faced in his life. And, hey, by the way, I just want to say this off the top. I love America. America is all about second chances. So, hey, your mistakes
and fourth and fifth.
Yeah, 100%. Your mistakes of yesterday, to me, do not have to define your life or your future. So, hey, I'm glad that he appears to has turned his life around from all of that perspective. But those 2 main reasons are the only reason that he is not a multi-time Pro Bowler. So he's insanely talented. We'll see how he does in Miami. Obviously, it's a big void to fill. Jonnu Smith had a terrific season last year for the Fish.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another thing I don't think Sean talked about this unless I missed it, Paul. I know I stepped out just for a minute or two. But SGA signed a big, fat extension. Oh, my goodness.
Supermax.
I'm going to get you the numbers here.
Please do.
I have them in my notes. All right. So he got a 4-year Supermax extension, $285 million. I mean, these guys now in the NBA are approaching half billionaires, with these monster contracts that they can get. This one, obviously, over $250 million. I know he was the MVP. I know there's nothing but upside here. It's seemingly on this guy's radar. But wow, the money, it's for regular folks, it's just hard to comprehend this kind of money. It really is.
The last year of his deal on this contract is he will be making almost $80 million for his final year on the contract, which is insane to think about. But hey, the Thunder are going all in here. This is a player that did not emerge immediately as, he's SGA. It took a lot of developing. Remember, he started off with the Clippers and was part of the crazy Paul George trade that landed him in Oklahoma City. Now he's an NBA champion, NBA Finals MVP. Now he gets the crazy record-breaking money. The key now is, because everyone loves throwing this word out after one team wins a championship, ooh, dynasty. The Chicago Cubs, oh, dynasty. Oh, the Celtics winning it last year. The Thunder this year. Everyone brings up the word dynasty. We'll see. It'll be up to them. A lot of people are questioning the path that they have this season with all of the different things that happened in the Western Conference. Hey, they had one of the greatest individual seasons we've seen from a team in a very long time, and maybe in history, especially defensively. We'll see where they can go next, but SGA got the bag. It's hard to fathom the numbers that now he's the highest paid player in NBA history. But with the TV deals and everything going up, I guess it's inevitable that these kind of deals are going to happen.
Yeah, no question. But it's just the money is meteoric now, Boy Green. It's like I said, I think for the regular person, even the person that can even afford season tickets, it's like, wow, And again, the other side of this is if the owners didn't have it, then they wouldn't be paying it, right?
That's also true. Sure, right.
Like we always do tend to focus on the athlete because they're the ones we watch, they're the ones we're invested in, they're the ones we care about. But the fact of the matter is, and the owners kind of live in the shadows, when they're doing bad things, we complain about them. When they're doing good things, we say, wow, look at them spending, like I take Steve Cohen of the Mets, for instance, spending money and on a guy like Juan Soto, and Mets fans going, yeah, right. We love this guy, and then when the team's not playing well, why aren't I doing more, So, I mean, that's the only time we really bring up owners. But the players are right there. They're in our face every day. We're watching them. We're invested in them. Sometimes we're even wearing their numbers on our chests and our backs. So I understand the investment between fan and player and how that bond is a lot tighter than an owner, GM, or anybody in the front office. And again, if they didn't have the money to pay the players, if the teams weren't making the revenue that they were making, then we wouldn't have this world, right? Where
of course
a guy could be given an extension for over $250 million, which just seemed unfathomable 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that this kind of money could be out there. But it
also
is.
for Oklahoma City, right? Didn't they call this a small market team?
Small
Kevin
market
Durant
team.
And all this stuff, and they just they are currently employing the highest paid player in NBA history.
Right.
Pish posh.
It's but this is the world we're in sports. So it's why I think a lot of people who love sports are, and it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, are watching it more on their beautiful flat screen television, which is a one-time investment that we can all make. If you love sports, you want to have a nice flat screen if you can afford it. But in terms of games that we attend these days, unless you have a lot of expendable income, you're lucky if you go to a game or two a year, and then you kind of treat it like it's a party. You say, all right, it's one game, so I'll buy the popcorn, I'll get the jersey, I'll spend some money knowing I'm only going to do this once or maybe twice in an entire season. But as you know, I was once a season ticket holder for the Knicks for 7 years straight, 7 years in a row. I, handed my money over to the Knicks and said, here you go. I'll see you for all 82 plus whatever we do in the postseason. And during those days, the Pat Riley, Patrick Ewing era, they were in the playoffs every year. So I was throwing additional ducats to the Knicks for the playoff games. Those aren't included in your regular season tally there. Oh no, those, and they're more expensive too.
Naturally, right?
Double the price of your seats, by the way, for the playoffs. Oh well, thank you very much. I so appreciate that, to have to sit in the same seat and pay twice as much just because it's a playoff game. Well, thank you very much for that. So that's just the reality of being a season ticket holder. But I just can't even imagine, if you're not a company these days or you're not a very wealthy person, how the heck you're going to have season tickets. So it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. We started, and I've liked doing this, and I hope those that have tuned in are enjoying it too. We went over and started kind of going through our "We Didn't Start the Fire," end of our radio era song that we played on the air on our final day last Friday. That was so well received that I spent hours writing and putting together thoughts on and trying to include lots of people in our radio thing. And I think it's been, I think it was a good thing the other day, even though we only got through like a third of it, to share some stories and to talk with our new audience here on digital, and perhaps some people that have migrated over as well, about our history a little bit, about what we're all about and some of the kind of the war stories, dare I say.
Yes.
So I think we got a little time before we sign off today, Boy Green. So
Okay.
I think I'd like to dive back in. I know we're going to have to
Okay.
play the song from the beginning. It's just the parameters under which
Yes.
right,
Right.
our world works. We can't just cue it up like we could in radio world and just
Yes. Right.
go to the wave and just click it right here. We'll just
Yeah,
start
right.
it right there. But we got all the way through the first couple of verses, all the way to Bud being blocked by a beverage truck in the suburbs. All right.
Yeah. Right.
So why don't we play the song from the start? Okay.
Sure.
And after that, there's a brief chorus, and then there's another verse right after that. And it ends that verse, Boy Green. Well, will be kind of mid-verse, but that verse ends with "Manchild gets a longer take." All right.
Okay.
So that's where, as the DJ, I would like you to stop it.
Sure.
And again,
Yeah.
we'll continue telling a few more stories out of this song. Maybe we'll get some of it in today, and then maybe our next live show we'll finish it up. But I do think it's a nice kind of dance and a reminisce through the things that we've done in radio. And for some of the people who are not that familiar with us as a pair, we can kind of enlighten them a little bit to some of the things we've been up to. So whenever you're ready, Mr. DJ, I'll take myself a drink of water, enjoy this song right from the top, and we'll stop it right after Manchild gets a longer take. Fire away.
Out of play, Daryl Gross, West Coast, Bill the produce guy, Jim Behan, Jerry Max, scooters calling from the track, Sky Chiefs again, now they are the Mets. Pasqualoni, De Leon, Mello is coming home, Easy, the NBA, and the intern Hall of Fame, hate the drink vaccine, pandemics got sports canceling, Boy Green's in the studio while Lerch is working from his phone. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it. Internet's in the car, driving through a snowstorm, Fruit Loops, Caddyshack, Tommy and DeWitt, Frank Bio, Leo Eisner, smartest people, Bud's Liz, Jamie's laugh, he, song of the day. Bottom three, fantasy, Boy Green's got a winning team, mini golf, intern Joe, Jamie trades out of control, Ballman, Paula Quinn, Oklahoma rooftop, beverage trucks, got blood block, trouble in the suburbs. We didn't start the fire, it was always burning since the world's been turning. We didn't start the fire, no we didn't light it, but we're trying to fight it. Robot Rick, two-time champ, McNabb's pick, body's back, behind Sparky's time, SU wins a Final Four, Inter down, hole in one, New York City baseball, but it's late, ain't that great, Manchild gets a longer take.
We're both on mute, Lerch. You're on mute.
I'm unmuting now. Yes, I was
Yes, okay,
talking
there you
while
go.
I was
Yes.
unmuting, and I saw that. Okay,
Yes.
so that's where we leave it. All right. So let's get into this next verse. Talk a little about some of these characters and some of these stories. Again, a lot of great fun history from our old radio show. All right. So it starts with Robot Rick, two-time champ. All right. So let's just start with Robot Rick. Robot Rick is a reference to one of our former interns. You want to tell the story of Robot Rick real quick?
And first off, Lerch, as we're going on with this story, can you just reiterate this whole song you put together and what it was all about?
Yes,
and,
that's a good idea, right, for
please.
people just tuning
Yes.
in, essentially, right? So,
Yes.
so we Didn't Start the Fire, Billy Joel. For years, I talked about taking the song and writing our own version of it, and I did this to recap our 23 plus years. Myself and Bud Poliquin, my original co-host, and then Paul for the last 8 years. Our run through radio and all of these different trials and traverses and people and events that kind of came through our world over the course of 24 years. That's a long time, 24 years
Sure.
to be doing one thing. So that's what it's all about. That was the genesis of it. And I rewrote the lyrics essentially. And the voice you hear on there is Bill Ali, a local musician here in central New York and Syracuse, who plays out like 4 or 5 nights a week. If anybody lives in this part of the part of the world, come see Bill Ali. He's a terrific singer and did a fantastic job putting this song together for us. So let's break down what we've got there. So the first line there is the first part of that line is Robot Rick. Who is Robot Rick?
Yes.
So it's a nickname that you and I gave somebody.
We did. Now, you know what's funny is that obviously, like, for those who don't know, maybe not assume. So Manchild Show with Boy Green. The Boy Green nickname came from Manchild. That came from his brain.
Give everybody nicknames.
He gives everyone nicknames. Now, a lot of nicknames that you get, like, okay, he called me Boy Green, and now I go by Boy Green. Like, that's my nickname. I was aware.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, our former intern, is not aware that he was ever called Robot Rick.
We never actually called him Robot Rick to his face. We called him Robot Rick behind his back, unfortunately.
Correct. Yes. So that's how it happened. So Robot Rick, I worked, I started with the show in 2015 as an intern myself, and then eventually rose to a producer position and then a co-host. And one of my jobs was an internship supervisor for all these interns coming in, training them, teaching them all these things.
Right.
And sometimes we get a chance to vet them out and do an interview before they get to the radio station. Then we get to enjoy it. And Robot Rick was just a monotone, no emotion intern that was just very black and white. And there was just, and I remember teaching him because, interns make mistakes, of course. And then what we do is after they make a mistake, I go back over it with them. Okay, here's what you did. Here's what you messed up. And here's how we can fix it for the next time. Because again, I was a former intern. I was telling this story, and I want the best for you guys. When you guys go on to great things, it's like my children. Awesome. I feel so much pride when you guys go do awesome things. So Robot Rick, on a couple of these, like he would make a mistake. Again, everyone makes mistakes. And I talked to him about it, and he would just emotionless face. I'd give him what he should do better. And it just went in one ear and out the other. Nothing computed, keeping it in the robot world. Nothing computed with what I would tell him.
It does not compute.
And then he would just listen to my criticism and then turn coldly and just go back to his computer. Like not even thanks. I'll work on that next time. Just boop boop. And that happened every time. And then Lerch
and he was very robotic. He was very robotic. So it became a little inside joke, dare I say. This was an inside joke that I let out in this song. Because I would walk into the studio, or Boy Green walk into the set, be like, "So is Robot Rick in today?"
Right? And Lerch would pass him. That's another thing. So we go into
he never said good morning.
He would never say good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Jim? Good morning.
So you come into the building. Yeah, right. Double set of glass doors. You move in. You pass a hallway, and to your left is where the interns sit at a cubicle.
You walk right past them.
You have to pass him every time you enter the building, and then you make two rights. You're in the radio booth. Well, we would turn left, and again, I'm a human being, whoever's sitting there. Hey, Josh. Hey, Fred. Hey, Roger, whatever the hell your name is. And I would greet them and say something. Maybe I'd crack a joke about something they're wearing or they're whatever. They're working really intently at me and make a comment about that. And I would say all kinds of things to Rick. And he wouldn't turn around, let alone say anything. He wouldn't say a peep. His body did not move. So he's typing away.
He's a very focused individual, I suppose.
I'm like, hey, Rick, what's going on, man?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, back to the studio.
All right, enough on Robot Rick. Not our fondest memory, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
Two-time champ refers to, again, our fantasy leagues. There are a lot of references to our fantasy leagues in this song. And there are only, I mentioned this last live show on Monday. There are only two-time champs in our champs league, which is our highest league. And that is myself and the man you're looking at right there, Boy Green. We are the only ones who have won it more than once.
Yes.
I had that for a while on my own. The year before last, right? The year before last, right? You won it for the second time. So now I have to win it a third time. Then it'll be three-time champ, and I'll be the only one again. That's what I'm hoping.
I assume that would have been the 2023 season because in January is the picture of me with the Conor McGregor 2-belt champ. So I imagine the 2023 season. Yes.
All right. And then the next line is McNabb's picked. All right. Donovan McNabb, the famous quarterback from Syracuse. I actually was at the NFL draft when McNabb was picked and booed, by the way, by Philadelphia Eagles fans who wanted Ricky Williams. And were chanting Ricky before the pick. And then McNabb got picked and they booed Donovan McNabb, who becomes an all-time great passer for the Philadelphia Eagles. They booed their quarterback on the way in. Oh, shame, shame, shame. And of course, I was there. I was working in television at the time to cover the draft for television and got exclusive interviews with McNabb and his family and everybody that was there. That was a lot of fun. Good times seeing Donovan McNabb get drafted was it number 2 overall? I think he went
Number
either
2 overall in
second
that
overall,
draft.
right? Yeah, second
Yes.
overall. All right. Then Bud is back. Well, Bud, he's there and he's back and he's there and he's back. So nothing really earth shattering there.
Yeah.
And then the next series of lines is Boeheim, Sparky's time. SU wins the Final Four. So SU won their lone championship, and we covered it on the radio in 2003. The Sparky reference is we have a longtime listener who doesn't come on the air with us very much, but talks to our producers or to us off air to give us thoughts. And his name is Sparky, and he is an usher at what used to be the Carrier Dome, now the JMA Wireless Dome. And he's a big fan. He still listens. I'm pretty sure he's a subscriber. He was asking me before we signed off on radio, how do I subscribe? Where do I have to go? So hopefully you're out there somewhere, Sparky. And if you're not watching this live, you're watching it recorded after the fact on demand. So I squeezed Sparky in there, and obviously Boeheim winning the Final Four. SU wins the championship.
Right.
Jim Boeheim's only championship with Syracuse.
As it turns out, right?
Now, the next one's a good one for people that don't know. The next line is intern Dom hole in one. What a great little story this is. So listen, we do things outside of the radio show, Boy Green and myself, Bud back in the day. We'll do things with the interns. Boy Green and I just went on a trip to Pittsburgh. We went to a Pittsburgh Pirates game and toured the city and did all kinds of Pittsburgh stuff with 3 people who were interns. It was me, Paul, and 3 interns. Who did this trip. And then sometimes we did simpler stuff, like we just go out and play a round of golf or something.
Sure.
So a couple of years ago, we had an intern named Dom. And Dom and 2 other interns came out with me and played golf. Went out and played 18 holes of golf on a day after the show, 1:00 in the afternoon, headed out to the golf course. Beautiful, sunny, central New York day. And a devious act happened. And the devious act was that Dom was in a cart with one of the other interns. I can't remember who the 4th intern was, but the intern that was with me, that was in the cart with me, was intern JT, right? Very nice intern. JT is a pretty good golfer too. So we had the 2 better golfers playing in the one cart, and we had the 2 lesser golfers, dare I say, in the other cart. And Dom had hit a stray ball, and he was hitting it from the edge of the woods down to the green, but he's on the other side of this hill. And so we were at the low end of the hill all the way down by the green, and they were on the other side of the hill hitting a blind shot down towards the green, I don't know, about 160, 170 yards away. So I tell JT, hey, don't stray too far from the cart because they're going to hit down here. We were to the left of the green by about 40, 50 yards. But, I was like, you never know, person. We're in front of the guy who's hitting the ball. That's always a dangerous place to be in golf, especially when you have 2, less skilled golfers, essentially, who are behind you. So as we're standing there kind of chit-chatting, waiting to hear the crack of the ball and the ball land somewhere and then, go over to the green and mark our balls, which were already on the green, I hear the crack and I look over the hill, and this golf ball is a screaming line drive coming right at the 2 of us. All right. It misses me, but nearly hits JT. And it hits like this cement shed that's like almost off the course, like meant for like if lightning strikes, get under there, to protect yourself. They call them like lightning sheds or something, right? And this tucked in this corner of the golf course is this cement shed that you can kind of hide in during a rainstorm or a thunderstorm. And so I look at JT, I'm like, oh, brutal shot, and he's like, yeah, whoa, who has it? That was Dom. He was over by the woods. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. I got a great idea. I said, let's grab the ball and let's put it in the hole. All right. And then we'll tell them, oh my God, when they come over the hill, because they couldn't see the shot. It was a blind shot.
Right.
You hit it in, you hold it. Right. So I run and get the golf ball. And I'm waiting because I can hear their cart is going to fire up in a minute. And it's not that far for them to come over that hill, and then they're going to see us. We're going to be caught, right? So I grabbed the ball, which was, a ways away from me because it ricocheted off this thing and went in a different direction. I had to go run, get the ball. And I'm running towards the hole, full speed. And I hear the golf cart is coming over the hill. I'm like, oh, they're coming. So I'm getting closer and closer to the hole, but I can sense they're going to come over the hill before I drop the ball in the hole. So I just roll it towards the hole, and it doesn't go in, but it ends up like a foot away. And then I kind of, scamper back towards JT, and then they come over the hill, and it just looks like
calm. Yes, right.
Waiting for them, and we're getting our putters and going to the green. And as soon as they come over, I'm like, oh my God, right? I'm like making a face and very bombastic. And Dom says, what? I said, you nearly got a hole in one. You nearly hit it in the hole. Oh my God, what a shot. Look at it. It's a foot from the hole, right? And he comes down and he's in his glory. This is the best shot of his day. This has made his day. He has not had a good day. And now he is having the day of his life because he hit this amazing shot from the edge of the woods, a foot from the cup. Now, how the heck Dom didn't realize that the green, which was 40 yards to the right, okay, that his ball was over here and somehow it hit the green. So how did he not even know that?
Come on, you want to believe the positive things.
Yeah. So we let this sit, and he gets his
he believes
taps it in for birdie, and he's got a birdie on his card, and he puts a circle on it, and we're all, me and JT are giggling. We don't tell the other guy in the other card either, whoever that other intern was. I forget who it was. And we just play the rest of the round out. And then, at lunch afterwards, Dom's talking about that amazing shot that he didn't even get to see. And me and JT are like, right, we threw it over there. Right. And not only that, but Dom goes home. And we find out a couple of weeks later that Dom has been telling his whole family, his friends, about this majestic golf shot that he has hit, that he hit to a foot, that he stiffed to a foot from 170 yards, almost in the woods, and he ended up with a birdie. And one day, JT, who is still interning for us at this point, says, I don't know, maybe we should tell Dom that, the whole thing was a lark. It was all a fantasy. And so I don't remember the exact circumstances. Did we call him Boy Green? I don't know if we called him directly or if he called into the show, but somehow, some way, Dom ended up on the air with us on a phone.
Yes.
And we literally said, Dom, I've got bad news for you. And he said, what? And I said, remember that golf shot, the one that you were talking to your family about and you talked about, for an hour afterwards, after the round, the greatest shot you ever hit in your life, and yada, yada, yada. And he's like, yes, I did. I talked to my family, did all that. I said, yeah, I actually put that ball there. And I actually was trying to put it in the hole, but you guys came over the hill in the car too fast. So I just dropped it and it got close to the hole, about a foot away, but it didn't go in. And he was devastated. He was like, oh my God, what? I've been telling people for the last, 8 weeks, I hit the greatest golf shot of my life. And the whole thing was a lark. So that was the intern Dom hole-in-one story. I know it's a long story, but it was a good one. The next night is New York City baseball. Bud's late ain't that great. Manchild gets a longer take. New York City baseball is just a reference to, the Mets and the Yankees and things that we cover. Bud, as we've told the story already in the show on this theme will recur over and over again. Bud was regularly late
on
to
Monday,
the show,
right?
like always late.
Yes.
So Bud, it was late. All right. And the thought was always when Bud was late, I got a longer monologue because I was stalling for my partner to arrive and for me to start my discussion with him. So Manchild gets a longer take, essentially, as I'm stretching my monologue.
Yes, right.
Okay. So let's finish up the rest of that verse. There's 2 more lines in that verse. So just play it right from there, Boy Green.
Okay, sure. Here we go.
Okay, you can hold it right there. All right. So the next couple lines here, jump in on any of these if you want. You want to tell the Jerry Lawler story? So Jerry the King Lawler is a wrestler. Some of you may recognize that name and say, what the heck does Jerry Lawler, Jerry the King Lawler, the wrestler, have to do with the Manchild and Boy Green and their radio show? Go ahead. Tell the story if you want.
Well, I'll try to truncate it, but Todd Schrupp is a horse racing analyst extraordinaire, and so NYRA and all that jazz.
He would come on our show regularly. He was great at breaking down the ponies for the big Triple Crown races.
Well, I was reading his bio, so we do a lot of prep for these interviews to try to go into obvious areas that things we just have to cover, and hopefully there's like something else that's hidden beneath that we can always dabble in. And I was looking on his horse racing bio, and I saw this paragraph at the end of his bio. If you kept scrolling down, something about him wrestling Jerry the King Lawler. For any WWE or original WWF fans in the audience, you'll know who Jerry the King Lawler is. He's a legend.
And Schrupp is just a normal guy. Like he's
right.
He's built like me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing kind of guy.
Yes.
Just a normal size guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And somehow they get into, we'll have to have Todd on the show to tell it from pillar to post.
Oh,
but
what a great story it is.
That'd be great too. So it lives forever here on YouTube. But basically there is a Jerry the King Lawler somehow at like one of these horse racing things. They're promoting something, and Lurch, if you have any of the other details, so I don't screw anything up here, but they end up going into a wrestling match for this big promotional thing, and Jerry works for them.
Lawler challenges him to a fight is what happens.
Correct.
Lawler, he went to MC an event or something, and then Lawler and he was interviewing Lawler, and then Lawler challenged him to a fight. I don't know if Todd said something that got him in trouble, but whatever he did, he got under the skin of Jerry Lawler, and Lawler said, I'm gonna take you down in the ring, and he was like, what? I'm not fighting you, you'll kill me, but then there became this big push, and charities got involved, and money was on the table to make money for charity, and dopey Todd Schrupp said, all right, I'll do it, and so they set up
and they work together, event. And there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, they worked together a bit, but Lawler pile drove him into the mat, and pile driver, in case you don't know, is where your head hits first. And Lawler promised him, don't worry, I'll put you between my thighs and cushion the blow. And Schrupp described it as he was seeing stars for days with his head hitting the canvas the way
crazy
that he did.
Story.
Crazy story. Jerry Lawler triple crown, even though Todd Schrupp's name did not get in there. This is a Todd Schrupp
we all
story.
Know.
Wink, that we all knew. The next line is Matthew Goody, Last Dance. Matthew Goody is a reference to a guy named Matthew Gutierrez. Who did Goody write for all those years? Did he write? I think he wrote for a bit for The Athletic, right?
That is correct. The Athletic, right? That was a big one.
He's not writing for them anymore. He wrote for The Athletic.
Correct.
He's written for some big time publications, and he was covering a lot of stuff in the central New York area, and was living there. And he was a regular guest of ours. He was our Syracuse basketball insider.
That's how I met him on the beat. I used to cover the team with him, and we'd cover the games and go to him together.
And this was during the season leading up to the pandemic, before the pandemic happened, all right? When literally the tournament was canceled, like almost as it started that year. Pandemic came in like April, and that's when it all went down. And so Matthew Gutierrez, as he liked to be nicknamed Goody, he was coming on during the pandemic, when Syracuse was not playing basketball anymore and the NCAA tournament was canceled. And we were breaking down episodes of Michael Jordan's documentary, The Last Dance, with him, and talking about what happened to the Bulls and what did you think of this? How'd you think they depicted this? So on and so forth. So he was like part historian, part like color analyst, and he was breaking down episodes of The Last Dance because this was the kind of stuff we were covering when there was no sports going on.
And here's an extra layer to the story. I can say this now, I guess, because it doesn't matter anymore because I'm no longer at the radio station in terms of doing my radio show. But I was furloughed,
Yes, that's right.
So this helped Lerch because out of nowhere, Lerch finds out, again, I'm his radio co-host, I'm his producer, I'm his internship coordinator. I do all these roles or did all these roles for the radio show. And the company tells me we're in the middle of COVID. There's cutbacks and all kinds of things going on. They tell me I'm furloughed, which means I had to stay at home for 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months, 90 days.
3 months, 90 days.
Is just off the show.
And they say, don't work, don't do any other jobs. You stay home, and hopefully we'll see you when the 90 days is over. Like, so sort of like a half promise of like, maybe we'll see you when you get back.
Whoa.
But I had no choice, so I had to sign paperwork, and they said, you cannot help Lerch, no virtual help, nothing. You have to stay away. That's part of this written agreement. And I'm like, okay. And Lerch was freaking out naturally. He's like, whoa, I just suddenly out of nowhere lose
my partner. You're taking my partner away from me. Why can't he continue to work for my company? Because again, I owned the radio show separately. I was not an employee of the radio station, which is why I wasn't furloughed. I probably would have been furlouged too, but I had no allegiance to them. I was just paying them to put the radio show on every day. But you had a tandem job.
Yes,
you were working for them and working for me.
Loophole, I guess.
The loophole got you, and they were like, yeah, you can't use them. And I was like, but he's doing it in this capacity, not in your capacity. And they said no. So
sorry, rules are rules.
If you want to keep doing the show, you want to stay on the air. And so Goody was a savior. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He's a savior.
Big salute. So yeah, Goody deserves a lot of credit for stepping up. And thankfully The Last Dance was recorded before COVID. So thankfully. Yeah.
All right. And next quick story here, Fun Fridays, which is what we used to do on Fridays on our show. We'd play trivia against each other, against listeners. Sometimes we bring in guests and guest hosts. And
maybe it'll come back. Who knows?
We used to do it every summer. during the radio show. So we would be doing it, this Friday. We were on the radio. We'd
Yes,
be doing
right.
another fun Friday. We did it at 11 o'clock on our show. Our show was 2
Mhm.
hours, and we would do fun Fridays at 11, usually lasted till around 11:30. And we'd have a competitive game going on of some form of trivia, sometimes some sports stuff, sometimes slice of life, pop culture, you name it. So Fun Fridays game time. That's what it refers to.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Big Al's on the Facebook feed. We have a longtime fan of ours. His name is Big Al. He's in one of our fantasy leagues. As a matter of fact, this year he's in the Champs League, so he's going to compete against the big boys. And Big Al loves to contribute on Facebook and Facebook Messenger during the show. So he's another guy that doesn't call in, but he likes to comment in. And oftentimes in the middle of the show, I'll get a little alert on my phone. I was like, oh, Al's asking about something here. Al's saying something. So he's a very direct interactor with us, but he uses Facebook as the primary and Facebook Messenger. So kind of unique. So we gave him some props for that, being a fan. Next line, Boy Green, you can take this one. You love this one. It's these three little things go together. It's water cooler, intern Rob, cold drinks in the studio. All right, people who have not listened to our show would have no idea what we're talking about there. What are we talking about?
Every day at 11 o'clock, the show used to be 10 to 12, Monday through Friday. At 11 o'clock, we do this segment called What's Trending Around the Water Cooler. Some of you new, young millennial kids may not have any idea what a water cooler is, but actually, I have one in my house. I'm directly looking at it, as a matter of fact.
You have actually a water cooler in your house?
I do, yeah.
Wow,
it actually, which is great. Apparently, it saves on money, my fiance tells me, instead of buying water bottles by getting them delivered, and it's a whole service. Although I've noticed we don't have any conversations by it. I'm standing by it, but no, it's not like my kids.
Maybe you should go over there and chat with your fiance.
The newspaper
from time to time over there.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm hoping to work back into that. So I'll just start hanging out over there and see if I get any foot traffic. But What's Trending Around the Water Cooler is basically a segment where our interns bring topics of the world of sports and pop culture and bring it to us and ask us questions. And one of our interns, intern Rob, who you may see in this new digital world, he would start off water cooler with, all right, it's time for the water cooler, the hottest takes and the coldest drinks. And one day I just stopped him and said, okay, obviously me and Manchild are doing our part with the hottest takes, but coldest drinks, huh? I'm looking around. I don't see any drinks.
We don't see any cold drinks. All we see is we're giving hot takes and we're not getting any cold drinks. So we just kind of, dare I say, busting Rob's chops, ribbing him a little bit. Like you come in with this new saying, welcome to the water cooler where we delve out the hottest takes and the coldest drinks. And we're like, hot takes? Okay, we can deliver on that promise. Cold drinks? Where are those? So we're just kind of messing with him.
It was a joke.
And tell the audience what he did. This is quite remarkable.
Yeah, it was a joke. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, like a ha-ha. Maybe he'll stop saying it or something. I don't know what's going to happen. Anywho, the next day that he comes in for water cooler, he has this weird, looking book bag. And I'm like, it was sort of odd. He was bringing it into the water cooler studio, and all of a sudden he unzips the top and pulls out. Yeah, big bulky thing, and he brings out 2 ice cold drinks, a Mountain Dew for me, and normally an Arnie Palmy over there.
I think the first time it was actually a Myers Creek brew. Actually.
Oh, that's true. It was alcohol. I forgot that at first.
Velvet
and on top
beer.
Of that,
very good.
Yeah, and on top of that, he gave us an ice cold glass drink that he bought us. He bought me a Jets cup and Lerch. What was it? Mets for you?
The Mets, yes.
Or Knicks. Mets, okay. And we both get 2 ice cold drinks. So we get the cold drink that was cold from the bag, the ice cold glass that was cold from the bag, and we pour the cold drink in the cold cup. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the most delicious thing of all time. For anyone who knows me in my personal life, I'm a big stickler about having really cold drinks and having drinks in a fridge for a certain amount of time before it's drink worthy. So I'm a big cold drink guy. And yeah, Rob changed the game, and he did that to us very last day. So shout out to Rob.
Yeah, fantastic. And Rob continued to deliver cold drinks all the way up until the end of his internship. So good for him.
Yes.
And he was always interested in which drinks we wanted. And Boy Green and I felt like kings.
Great selection.
We were like, this is fantastic. This guy is out buying us drinks. We were just busting his chops. Next thing you know, he took it seriously and said, you know what, I'm going to take this to a new level. And I think it's likely to get him in the Intern Hall of Fame, frankly. Listen, hosts can be bribed. I mean, that is definitely true. Hosts can be bribed. Feel free.
I would say we left the radio show like a week ago, whatever it is. Now all the days are sort of truncating together, but
less than a week ago.
less than a week ago, we leave the radio show, and my biggest regret is not the fans that were standing outside every time we went to our cars and signing autographs and kissing
Yeah,
babies.
all of that, right. That can be a lot sometimes.
It wasn't the money, which was obviously rolling in. That was fantastic.
Sure.
It was Rob bringing in the cold drinks. And now that in this virtual world, unless he provides a delivery service, I imagine that may not be coming in the near future. So that's my biggest regret with the radio show, and probably the only reason I'd want to bring it back and get Rob to give us more cold drinks, to be honest with you.
So that's quite possible. And then the last line in that stanza is tornado, then hurricane. Jamie's got another name.
Oh, boy. You guys are going to hopefully get a real inside look at this, because obviously we're explaining all of our radio path, and hopefully that's getting you guys to learn more about us as a tandem and together. We have 4 fantasy football leagues, and Jamie is he is the most diehard fantasy football fan of all time. And he's constantly on edge about his roster and about his team names, and he's constantly changing them. Like from day to day, he'd call into the radio and say, "Hey, update, do you check the Yahoo Fantasy Football app? Another name change." I'm like, why? What is the purpose of this? And so he would change his team names a lot, and it, quite frankly, it goes with his roster. He does trades and cuts and signings all the time. He's completely active. He breaks the Yahoo Fantasy Football app because it says how many moves each team has made, and he's always in the hundreds. So it's very unique.
Yeah, so fantastic. And so he's a crazy trader, and he changed his name regularly. And so that's Jamie. That gets us 2/3 of the way through the song, Boy Green.
Okay.
So we'll, again, our next live broadcast, we'll try to get through the last third of the song where there are some other great stories and kind of give you, again, a continued kind of historical look at our days in radio. It'll be all the time that we'll ever spend on it. And then you guys will learn all about us here in the digital world. But it's nice to kind of take a glimpse back, a look back, and kind of relive some of these moments. And the fact that we were able to put it to song made it even that much cooler. All right. Yes. I want to take another quick break. We'll come back. Sure. We'll do a couple more items before we get out of here in our live show. And we will also tell people about a fabulous little live event we have going on tomorrow, a little different from our usual sports world. We'll tell you who we're going to have on, what it's all about, and why we will continue to do this, for the foreseeable future, because it's something we've been involved in for many, many years. All right. So I'm going to fire it off here, Boy Green, from our friends at Bayberry Automotive, one of our wonderful sponsors. Take a listen.
Trust is everything when it comes to auto repairs. At Bayberry Automotive, they take trust seriously. Bayberry has a team of experienced and certified mechanics that are dedicated to providing exceptional customer service. And Bayberry stands behind its work with an exceptional 5-star rating from its many satisfied customers. Family run, integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive, BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
Cadillac certified pre-owned vehicles, exclusively available in Central New York at your participating Cadillac dealer, Crest Cadillac. Each one must meet high standards and receives a 172-point inspection, along with a 1-year unlimited mile warranty after the original warranty expires. Come into Crest Cadillac in Syracuse today for exceptional offers on Cadillac certified pre-owned models. CrestCadillac.com.
All right, we're back. One more segment before we say goodbye today. And again, don't forget to like our videos, help our channel along by hitting the little thumbs up, bottom right corner of the screen. And also don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribing. We've got a lot of cool things coming your way, including what I want to preview for tomorrow, Boy Green. And that is a very, very special show where you will not see this beautiful little template that's around us that says sports, digital, entertainment, and the flaming footballs and basketballs and baseballs that you see around the edges. You'll see a very different look tomorrow. Let's tell people what we're up to tomorrow. It, again, will be a live event, so you can join in and be interactive with us, but it's got to be your cup of tea. This one's a little bit of a specialty show that we're going to have going on for you tomorrow. Tell the folks all about it, Boy Green.
Again, what these shows are doing for you guys, obviously product and entertainment for all you guys to enjoy, but also so you guys can learn more about us. And we are, we're deep individuals. We're not just sports guys, that we are multifaceted in a lot of ways. And tomorrow, you guys can already see the video on our channel as a preview to come. We're going to be talking about Survivor, the CBS hit reality series that's been on air for 25 years, a quarter century. And the big tease that's coming up is there is a season 49 coming up later this fall, but there's a season 50 coming up next spring. and that will be a massive season with all kinds of big names on it. So to help us react to that Survivor Season 50 cast that has already been revealed, we're going to be checking in with Tiffany Seeley, a former Survivor castaway herself. We had Brett LaBelle on before we went full-time digital back about a month ago or so, and that was nice to have Brett on, and we're good friends with Brett, but it'll be good to mix in some other Survivor people. So yes, this entire background will change, and it'll transport us to the island of Fiji as we're getting ready for Survivor Season 50. So Tiffany's a great gal. I've did an interview with her before on the radio. She's wonderful, and I can't wait to see her visually. It'll be great to have her on the show.
Yeah, so she's going to represent and talk about who she thinks was snubbed, and does she like the cast and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So if you love Survivor, you definitely want to tune in tomorrow. That will be a live event, so you can ask Tiffany questions, and we'll pop your
Please.
comments on just like we do during our regular show. So feel free to do that. We'd love for it to be very, very interactive. When the cast was originally announced, we did an hour-long or so show with Brett LaBelle, who has been our Survivor insider for the last 7 years. He's done probably 10, 12, 14 seasons with us. The cop from Boston, who was in Gen X versus Millennials, as Boy Green said, he's become a good friend of ours, but has been a guest on the show forever, going all the way back to the radio days. We're going to keep that relationship with Brett, but we're also going to branch out and have some of the other Survivor legends come on. And Tiffany, who's a native New Yorker, so she'll be talking in that New York style, just like the Manchild used to when I lived down there in Queens. She'll just talk like that. I'll just roll right back into my New York thing, and she'll be very, very comfortable with me when I go back down there, because I never used to round off my vowels when I lived down there, and then I came up here, and look at me, now I have a completely different sound to me than I did when I lived in New York. So, but Tiffany's a native New Yorker. I understand she's a teacher down in the Long Island area, and she's going to be joining us live, and we're going to have a blast talking about Survivor Season 50. That's scheduled for 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, correct?
That is correct. And also to Badshaw, who I know is a Survivor fan, there's going to be some natural cross-pollination with Jet fans who are also Survivor fans, just like me, from my channel. Those Brett interviews will be coming. We'll do those on a week-to-week basis once the new season of Survivor hits. That'll be season 49 coming up this fall. So each week-to-week, as new episodes happen, you guys will be able to check in with us with Brett. But as Lerch said, beyond that, we're going to bring other Survivor people that we have connections with on to talk about whatever's going on in the world of Survivor. Obviously, the universe is even larger than just the week-to-week episode. So we'll be doing even more than that, which is really exciting.
And one of the things we've been doing on our YouTube channel, Boy Green and I have been working on this together, is we're creating what you call playlists. And everybody that is familiar with YouTube will know what a playlist is. But for those of you that are somewhat new to YouTube, that have maybe migrated over from the radio world with us, you create playlists, and then it will just be all of our Survivor interviews in a particular playlist, all of our Giants Insider when we're doing Giants content in a playlist. We have a Jets playlist when we're talking only about the Jets. The Buffalo Bills are a regular staple of ours. We'll have a playlist, and we already have a playlist for our Buffalo Bills stuff. So if you love Survivor and you're not really a sports nut, you can just go into our Survivor playlist and look at what we have in there and be able to go back and listen to those interviews and watch those interviews. So go check out the playlist. Boy Green's showing it to you right there on the screen. You see it. You look at videos. You look at shorts. Those little tabs where it says video, shorts, live, playlists, posts are all different areas, obviously, of our YouTube channel and playlist. You can see we have a Survivor playlist right there. You can see that we've got Jets and Giants and Bills already set up as well. So we'll take our long form videos and drop them into those playlists. So if you just want to, on demand, play some stuff that is your particular love, your particular passion, you can just go into those playlists and you don't have to scroll through everything else. It just makes it a little easier, a little more organized. It's like file folders, essentially in the YouTube. I kind of like it. I dig it.
Yeah, it helps with the organization, so we'll see. And Badshaw, I don't have the official date in front of me, but it's September is when it's hitting, which is normally the third week in September.
Correct.
So
yeah.
Mark
so it'll be
that
September, right? September is the next season, which will be season 49, and 50 will start in the spring. And again, as 50 approaches, we'll create a lot of hoopla leading up to 50. 50 it's a big anniversary for Survivor. First of all.
Yes, right.
50 seasons, essentially 25 years on the air, because they do 2 per year.
Correct.
And Boy Green and I, the reason we got into Survivor is we've been watching Survivor literally since season 1.
Correct.
Both him and I have watched all the seasons multiple times. I have this little free subscription. A lot of you might have this in the streaming world called Pluto TV, where they literally have a Survivor channel and it's just 24/7 Survivor. So you can just jump into any Survivor season at any point and just start watching it through. But there are plenty of places where you can get full episodes of Survivor and go back and watch all the seasons. And Boy Green has auditioned for Survivor
I have several times,
Several times.
both
He
in
wants
video and in person.
he literally wants to get on the island, and we have
I do.
had some of our Survivor insiders, David Wright, Brett
Yes.
LaBelle, and others
Sure.
say they want to try and help Boy Green get in. They
Yes.
can't do anything. They don't like have insider,
Right, they can't just say, "Get
abilities
Boy
to
Green
Jeff
on the
Probst
show,"
and say,
right.
"Get Boy
No,
Green on." We wish
yes.
that were the case. We could get him on.
Sure, right.
But they have tried to, and will continue to try to give him tips in terms of the
the
kinds of things he could
videos,
do at
right.
an audition, what kind of videos you could send in, yada yada. So they're always offering their advice because they'd love to see this character next to me here
Sure.
on Survivor. I can tell you, folks, I love watching Survivor. I have no desire to be out there on the island. I don't like to starve. I can't stand bugs. I'd be an annoyance. They'd vote me out in 2 to 3 days max because I'd just be complaining the whole time, like, "God, what's with these bugs? Gosh, get them off me." I would just be going crazy. That kind of stuff does not really tickle me at all. You love it. The one thing I do love about Survivor, and I think anybody that's a fan would agree, Survivor is the great human experiment. Okay. It
yes,
is
of
take,
course.
16, 20, however many. How many is it these days that they put on the island typically?
About
Does it
18
vary season to
normally.
season? Normally about
Yeah,
18.
but it does vary.
18 people from all over the place with all different kinds of backgrounds and all different kinds of personalities. And you jam them together and you put them in closed space and you give them no shelter and you give them no food and you make them do everything together. And it doesn't always work out so nicely. Like some of us are neat freaks and some of us are slobs. Some of us are very anal. Some of us are like, hey, who cares, man? Like Zach, our intern, and it's just like, how do you all get along? How do you make it work? And how do you build social bonds so that those people like you enough or don't feel you're enough of a threat to not vote you out, which is what happens, of course, in Survivor. So it's a great human experiment. That's what I really, really love about Survivor. So I'm looking forward to talking to Tiffany about season 50, but we'll have lots of dialogue and we'll do lots of stuff with different cast members from over the years in the Survivor family, which has become kind of our second family in a lot of ways, even though neither Boy Green and I have been on the island yet. Boy Green hopes to. I'll continue to. I'll watch your season, Boy Green, if you get on.
There we go.
I'll gladly watch it and critique it and probably rip you to shreds for all the bad things that I expect you to do. In case you didn't know, Boy Green's favorite Survivor of all time. Go ahead, tell him, who is it?
Russell Hantz, baby.
The worst of them all, Russell Hantz. So, if I were naming an all-time top Survivor, I would name somebody like Jonathan or
Boston Rob, baby.
No, not Boston
Parvati.
Rob. No, none
Tony?
of those people. No,
Okay.
no. It would be someone like Malcolm,
right.
Joe, Colby. These are the survivors I like.
Okay.
These kind of altruistic individuals, kind of nice people.
Boring.
Kind of like, wow,
Nice.
nice. Yeah,
Ethan Zone.
I liked
Yeah, that
Coach
could be
is very unusual. He's going to be
Dragon
on
Slayer.
season 5. I liked Ethan. Good one, Bradshaw. I liked Ethan. Ethan was cool. Good people. Ethan, good people. Right? Had that terrible struggle with cancer. Right?
Yes.
After the show, and I think is overcome that.
Yes,
so,
he has. There was season 3.
Ethan goes way back,
way
back. That's
yes.
right. So
Yes.
Brandon knows his Survivor too. So do we. We're Survivor nuts, as I'm sure some of you out there are, and we will delve into that world of Survivor. So again, if that's not your cup of tea, you don't have to tune in tomorrow. You don't have to watch it. It'll be in that playlist for those of you that love it.
Exactly.
But that's this show, maybe unlike Boy Green's channel, where he is Jets 100% of the time.
True.
We're going to diversify a little bit more, and we hope that you can appreciate that diversity and not, frown upon us just because we're not talking about one thing every day, all day. I mean, some things are meant to be that way and some things are not. And we'll see. One of the things I really do care about this, I said this on the show the other day, and that's why your feedback is so important to both of us in creating this new digital world for the Manchild Show with Boy Green is, I want your feedback. Tell us, let us know regularly through your comments, through other ways of communication, through our social media portals. You can DM us things that you want more of, things that you are really liking that we're doing, and we will try to, acquiesce, dare I say, to some of those demands that you might have on us, because we want this to work as much as anyone. We want this to be a big, rousing success. We had 23 plus years of a great success story on the radio, and now we've moved our footprint over here digitally, and we want to make sure that we're servicing our listeners and our viewers as well as we can. So we hope you'll be a contributor to that. And again, don't forget, subscribe. You see it right there below the screen. Like our videos. That all helps build up our following and lets us know that we're doing the right thing, that we're doing good things for you. So please continue to do that. Boy Green, as I always do, I'll give you final thoughts before we sign off here on a Wednesday.
Yeah, for all of our live shows, we stream live in 3 different places at the same time. That's the Manchild Show Boy Green digital Facebook page, at MC Show Digital on YouTube, and my YouTube channel at Boy Green25. Any of my Boy Green subscribers that have been interacting on the show, we appreciate it. Make sure you also jump on over to at MC Show Digital and subscribe to that channel too, because not every interview and video that we do will also be on my channel. Only a select amount of them will. So if you want the full shish kebab, make sure you subscribe to at MC Show Digital, and then you guys will never miss a video, especially when you hit that bell notification. So every time a new video gets posted, whether it's a Giants interview yesterday or a live show today or a live interview tomorrow with Tiffany Seeley, whatever it is, you guys will be covered if you do that. So please, please, please make sure you show your love.
All right. So thank you, everybody who watched today. And don't forget, of course, this stuff is all on demand. So if you missed the beginning of the show, you want to tune into that. We did a great bit with about 45 minutes with Sean Devaney, our NBA insider. You can hear his breakdown on all those big free agency moves. We talked about the Nick coaching situation as well. All kinds of stuff to go back to if you got in here a little bit late today. But love these live shows. We're going to continue to do them for you. I know for sure we're definitely going to be live again next Monday at 11. I'll talk to Boy Green off air and see if we're going to do anything over the 4th of July weekend. I want everybody to have a wonderful 4th of July weekend, celebrate it, enjoy it, go see some fireworks if that's your cup of tea. But want everybody to have a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. But we will be back tomorrow, 11 o'clock, Tiffany Seeley, all things Survivor. No sports tomorrow. It's just talking about reality television. Get ready. It's going to be wild. I'm looking forward to it. Boy Green, thanks as always. Thanks as always to all of you. And we'll see you tomorrow talking Survivor. Peace out.